Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam, Khataman Nabiyyin, Rasulullah, is the last Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam was born in Makkah Mukarramah in a tribe named Quraysh. His father, Hazrat Abdullah, died before his birth, and his mother died when he sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam was only 6 years old. His grandfather, Hazrat Abdul Muttalib, took care of him. When Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached the age of 8, his grandfather passed away, and he sallallahu alaihi wasallam came under the guardianship of his uncle Abu Talib. Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam helped his uncle in his successful caravan business. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam worked with honesty and truthfulness and soon earned a good reputation in a short time. Hazrat Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was the most respected lady of her time. She heard about Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's reputation as being truthful, reliable, and noble, and so she entrusted him to take her caravan of goods to Syria and sell it. Her old and trusted slave, Mesra, accompanied him during the tour. Mesra was impressed by his integrity, strength of character, adherence to principles, amicable dealings, and business abilities. On the way back from Syria, he reported everything about Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam's honesty and intelligence to Hazrat Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. She too was impressed by his sallallahu alaihi wasallam's nobility and sent him a marriage proposal and became the first wife of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was immensely renowned for his integrity, and even his staunch enemies called him as-Sadiq, the truthful, and Al-Amin, the trustworthy. Once Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wrote a letter to the Emperor of Byzantium, Heraclius, and invited him to embrace Islam. Upon reading the letter, the emperor summoned Abu Sufyan to interrogate him about the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Sufyan was one of the foremost opponents of Islam at that time. Despite that, he testified that the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam possessed exemplary qualities of honesty and trustworthiness and preached pure monotheism. Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was also a loving father and a compassionate and merciful husband. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam always showed respect towards women. Throughout his life, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam always behaved well. Justice is another noble and magnificent characteristic of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam always advised people to be just and kind. Once a woman from Bani Makhzum committed the committed theft. Due to her stature in the tribe, some prominent members came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and mediated on her behalf to save her from punishment. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam refused to forgive her crime due to her worldly status and expressed displeasure, saying, "Many a community ruined itself in the past as they only punished the poor and ignored the offenses of the exalted. Sahih al-Bukhari 3733. The life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a role model for us, and we can learn many things by following his code of conduct, which will make us successful in this world and the world hereafter. Eid al-Fitr. People from all over the world celebrate religious and cultural festivals which integrate peace and harmony. Muslims also celebrate religious festivals. Eid al-Fitr is one of the most significant religious events for Muslims. Eid al-Fitr commemorates the end of the holy month of Ramadan and the start of Shawwal, the 10th month in the Islamic calendar. Eid celebrations start. Eid celebrations start after the announcement of the Eid crescent, and the night is known as the Chance Raat. When families start their next day's preparations, females apply beautiful designs of mehndi on their hands. Everyone arranges their new dresses and shoes to wear on Eid morning. Each day starts with Eid namaz called Salatul Eid. Muslim men and children gather in masjid or open places announced to offer Salatul Eid. It is a tradition to wear new clothes on Eid day and eat special Eid desserts like sweet made with vermicelli and milk, kheer, local desserts, etc. Another key element of celebrations is to give fitrana, obligatory payment unto the poor and less fortunate families prior to Eid Namaz. It's charity which helps others to enjoy festivals as well. This may this way Muslims teach their children to help the needy and deserving as much as possible. After Eid Salah, Muslims exchange Eid greetings. Kids get Eid from the elders in a form of a new currency notes, or other gifts. Eid al-Fitr is also celebrated and to show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his help and strength throughout the month who and showed their accomplished and showed they accomplished their sacred duties during Ramadan. The Holy Quran was revealed unto Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Ramadan. The Eid festival is a national holiday in all Muslim countries. Eid is the time to forgive others by inviting or visiting them. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and battles made. 9 bean throws will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loved glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the wheels of the morning into where the sticks sings, where the cricket sings. Their midnights all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the innards wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavements grey. I hear it in the deep heart's core. Read it once again. I will arise and go now, and go to the industry and a small cabin built there of clay and battles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loved glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the wheels of the morning into where the cricket sings. There with nights all a glimmer, and moon a purple glow, and evening full of the innate swings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavements grey. I hear it in the deep heart's core. Major Shabbir Sharif Shahid. Soldiers are the assets of a country. They are protectors of the nation and guards their motherland at all costs. Pakistan Army has produced many great heroes who laid down their lives in the line of duty. Rana Shabir Sharif was one of the brave sons of our nation who was awarded the Nishan-e-Haidar, the highest military award for his courage. Shabir Sharif was born on April 28, 1943 into a Rajput family in Punjab, Gujarat. His father, Major Rana Muhammad Sharif, was a Pakistani army officer. He was the nephew of Nishani-Haidar holder Major Raja Aziz Bhatti and the elder brother of General retired Rahid Sharif, a former chief of the army staff. He completed his matric from St. Anthony's High School, Lahore. He was a student at Government College, Lahore, when he was recruited into the Pakistan Military Academy, Kakul. He successfully completed his training and was awarded the Sword of Honor. He was posted to the 6th Battalion of the Frontier 4th Regiment. Shabir Sharif was one of the most admired officers in the Pakistan Army. He played squash and also won many swimming medals while he was serving the 4th Frontier Force Regiment. In 1971, Indo-Pakistani War, Major Shabir was the commander of a company from the 6th Frontier Force Regiment. He was tasked with capturing uh, Gurmukhi Khera, Gurmukhi Khera, and Berry, a village in the Suleimanki sector. On December 3rd, 1971, he fought courageously alongside his men and held Indian forces at bay. Shabir Sharif and his company cleared the Jungar post with great bravery. He fearlessly passed through the minefield laid by enemy, swam across a water obstacle, the Sabuna distributary, whisked under intense enemy fire, and led his company to capture the object. During the day, his troops repulsed more than 15 Indian attempts to recapture lost positions. His company destroyed full enemy tanks and held two Indian battalions at bay, also killing 43 soldiers. During an attack on the night of December 5th, the Indian company commander challenged him into a hand-to-hand combat. Major Shabir Sharif accepted his challenge and soon snatched the strength out of the Indian major's hand and wounded him. His chivalrous act demoralized the Indian troops, allowing Major Shabir's men to consolidate their hard-earned gains in the captured area. The enemy launched a counterattack led by air strikes and heavy artillery shelling in the afternoon on December 6. After casualties amongst his soldiers, Major Shabir took over as gunner on an anti-tank gun and started firing on enemy tanks. During his fight, one of the enemy tanks fired at him, causing fatal injuries. He embraced martyrdom. At the time of martyrdom, Major Shabir was just 28 years old. Later, the government of Pakistan awarded him with the Nishani-Haider. He is the only soldier who received both Nishani-Haider and Sitara-e-Jurat for his heroism. In addition, he had also received the Sword of Honor, so he holds the unique honor of having being the recipient of the three most desired awards from the Pakistan Army. We are proud of brave and courageous soldiers of Pakistan such as Major Shabir Sharif. Harmony in society. Ahmad and Hazik were playing in the ground when they saw a family moving next door. They informed their mother, who told them that they would all welcome the new neighbors by cooking something for them. In the evening, they were called by their mother. She handed to them a bowl of dessert and told them to take it over to the new neighbors. She instructed them to greet the family with respect and pay her regards as well. Hazik and Ahmad happily went there and knocked at the door. The lady opened the door and welcomed them with a broad smile on her face. They greeted her and, as per their mother's instructions, gave her the dessert bowl. She offered them fresh juice and a small chit chat. While leaving the house, they both saw a boy of the age sitting in the balcony, but when he saw them, he shut the window. They were surprised at his attitude, but came back home quietly. Next day, while waiting for their school bus, they observed the same boy sitting in the same window. He repeated the same action and closed his window. The whole day Hazik and Ahmad thought about the boy. They thought they thought him to be too proud or rude. In the evening, when their mother made donuts, she told them to share them with their new neighbors. The same lady opened the door smiling. They asked about the boy. A tear rolled down from her eyes. and she told them that his name was Jasim and he was her only son. Jasim was only 2 years old when they had found out that he had polio. This news was extremely devastating for them. The raging fever left him paralyzed from the neck down. He underwent a surgery as well, but to no avail. He had some strength in his upper body, but his lower body, especially his legs, remained dysfunctional. She said that Jasim had developed a phobia of school because he had been bullied by a few naughty boys in his previous school. Due to his due to this, a home tutor used to come and to help him with his studies. All the old school all the old schools, the situation had turned so ugly that they had decided to move to another city. Hazik and Ahmed heard everything with concern. They wished to see Jasim in a normalized situation. Jasim's mother led them into his room. As usual, Jasim was sitting on his wheelchair and looking outside from his window, looking pensive and alone. They both went close to him and greeted him. Jasim got a bit upset in the beginning, but his mother tapped his shoulder and left the room. Hazik and Ahmad introduced themselves and offered him chocolates and they had brought from him for him that they had brought for him. This attitude was very new for Jasim. His gloomy eyes were reluctant in accepting their offer of friendship at first, but he did not refuse their company. Hazik and Ahmad promised him to be at his side in all difficult situations. They assured him that they would not leave him to no matter what happened. This situation made Jasim feel good, and he agreed to go outside and to play with them. The next day, they brought him out. They played Ludo and enjoyed themselves. When they dragged his wheelchair and helped him leave the house, Jasim's mother was happy. They did what Jasim's parents had wanted for him from a long time. People were looking at this difficulty. People were looking at this differently abled boy, but the company of Hazik and Ahmad didn't allow others to say anything to him. Jasim was good in throwing a ball and was a great planner. Soon their friendship became famous among others, and in the evenings the ground cackled with kids' laughter and noise with Jasim as a part of them. We should always be thankful to Allah for making us whole. It is our moral duty to treat people like Jasim with empathy and make them a productive part of our thinking. Together, we can bring challenge in our society and can make a society better. Tina and her mother were preparing to go shopping. They had a big party at that night, and they needed and to get groceries, to cook a grand dinner. Tina locked the door and rushed out after her mother, and both drove to the supermarket. The market was very busy, a great hustle and bustle that could be seen everywhere. The bright, blazing sun was increasing in heat. And her mother completed their shopping and drove back home. On their way back, they observed a crowd of people on the road. Tina's mother stopped their car to investigate the matter. They found a woman lying collapsed on the road. Tina quickly came out of the car and rushed over to her. She moved the crowd away and tried talking to the lady. She constantly checked her breathing and pulse and asked her mother to call for an ambulance. She rolled the lady on onto her side and her head slanted back to keep her airways open. She put her hands on her chest and provided her 30 uninterrupted chest compressions by using her hands to push down hard and fast in the specific way on her chest. Tina also tried to give her rescue breaths. Tina is a medical student. The crowd closed in again to see what was happening. She requested the crowd to move back so that the lady could get fresh air. She continued the cardiopulmonary um, resuscitation resuscitation on the lady until the ambulance arrived. Tina and her mother accompanied the lady to the hospital. The doctor took her to the emergency and saved her life. He appreciated Tina's bravery and intelligence for providing the first aid. He said that the lady might have lost her life in time if timely CPR had not been provided to her. CPR provided the oxygen-rich blood flow to her brain and other organs uh, until proper medical treatment and restored her typical heart rhythm. The lack of oxygen-rich blood uh, could have caused her brain damage in only a few minutes. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation and CPR is a life-saving method that is useful in many emergencies. This can be effective with patients of heart attack or near drowning in which someone's breathing or heartbeat has stopped. The lady's family was really grateful to Tina and her mother. The doctor said that the simplest uh, first aid skill can make a difference, but unfortunately, only 1 in 20 people know what to do in an emergency. Tina was a live example to follow for everyone, and she was praised and appreciated by all. All of a sudden, as she became a superhero who had saved someone's life. Tina also offered her services to train those who were interested in first aid and CRP to the people in her neighborhood. Corruption. Mr. Shan was a newly appointed minister. He was very rude and offensive. His employees were not happy with him. The worst thing about Mr. Shan was that he was a corrupt minister. He never did anything without bribery. His illegal ways were pain for others. Due to this strong, wealthy background, nobody stood up against him. Due to his strong, wealthy background, nobody stood up against him. One day, a poor farmer came to him for the approval of water pump in his area. Mr. Sean demanded a handsome amount to sign the proposal. The farmer begged for mercy as he was not rich enough to fulfill his illegal demand. Mr. Sean rudely tore up his application and ordered his guards to throw the man out. His friend noticed his attitude and came to advise him. He begged him to leave his bad habits and explained him that bribery and corruption were evil and forbidden in Islam. Our Rasul Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had always to had always to avoid corruption as it was a big sin. Rasul Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had told his people, "May the curse of Allah be upon the briber and the bribe recipient." Muslims should avoid paying a bribe in any form and under any circumstances. Mr. Sean was not in the mood to listen to sermon and responded that to maintain a proper lifestyle, one must be rich and wealthy, even if it meant indulging in bribery. Days passed by, and there was no change in Mr. Sean's professional and personal lifestyle. His greed knew no bounds, and he refused to mend his ways. One day, when he was sitting in his office, an unusual phone call alarmed him. His only son had met with an accident and was admitted to hospital. He left everything and rushed to the hospital. There he met a large crowd of poor workers, laborers, and their families. Loud cries of children and women created a devastating din in the hospital. The central bridge of the city had fallen down. It was the same bridge he had ordered to construct using Kapoor material. His son was also a victim of the bridge collapse. He had been driving to attend a friend's party. While crossing the bridge, he met with an accident and had been buried under the debris until rescuers found him. People were cursing Mr. Sean, but he was not listening. His center of attention was the son who was struggling for his life. Doctors were not hopeful because of his serious injuries. Mr. Sean sought forgiveness from Allah and regretted his acts. Suddenly, he saw a doctor coming out of the operation theater. The appearance of the doctor gave Mr. Sean a shock. He was the same man whose fake medical certificate had been issued by his signature, and today that fake doctor had been appointed to operate on his son. Mr. Sean was not expecting this. His misdeeds and wrong acts were right in front of him, and he had nothing to say. His heart was crying, and he was ashamed and repentant. The doctor came closer and gave him the sad news of his son's death. His only son was no more, and it was all because of his own wrong decisions, on dishonesty, greed, misuse of power, and corruption. He had done he had none to blame but himself. He spent his life in making money for his family and for the better future of his son. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Almighty, had other plans. Mr. Shan lost the most precious thing of his life. Corruption leads the nation to downfall. It can destroy society. We must be honest in our deeds and always show loyalty and responsibility. Overpopulation are dilemma. It was a hot summer night. Danish was lying down with his grandfather on the roof of their home. The sky was dusty and cloudy, humidity had increased, and everyone was feeling hot. Tell me something about your childhood, Danish asked his grandfather. His grandfather said, when they shifted into this city, it had not been so densely populated. The sky had been blue, and they could actually stargaze from their home at night, and the river flowing by their home had not been toxic or grey. They had lived in a different but peaceful time. They loved to swim in the river, but it was now polluted by human waste. They had not even needed air conditioners during summers because there were many trees and green plots that kept the temperature low. He also said that there had been only a few houses in their area, but now it was extremely overpopulated. All grassy plots had now been constructed constructed upon and were clustered with houses. The border of their city had been extended due to human inhabitation. The explosion of population had created a lot of problems. How can population be a problem? Danish asked in confusion. His grandfather smiled and said that population was not creating problems, but overpopulation had become a dilemma. Overpopulation means a situation in which the world has so large a population that people suffer as a result. He further said that according to an estimate, we add 227,000 more people to the planet every day. The growth of population demands more water, land, trees, fossil fuels, and other resources. Unsustainable population growth becomes the reason behind food and water shortages, climate change, and intergenerational poverty. Intergenerational poverty. We have observed that cities are now heavily populated because people from villages migrated to cities to get more opportunities and meet their basic needs. The cities are not developed enough to cater to the needs of more people. Due to this, we, as humans, are suffering more. It is a common observation that overpopulation prevails more in underdeveloped nations as compared to developed nations. It is because of lack of proper education and preventive measures of reproduction. Families have more kids to feed but are unable to meet their expenses. What other consequences do we face due to overpopulation? Danish was now even more curious. The major effect on population is the consumption and unrestrained distribution of natural resources. We have a limited capacity to generate raw materials, and that is why we are facing a natural resources deficit. Overpopulation is leading to environmental degradation. The excessive usage of coal, oil, and fossil fuels is creating a negative impact on our planet. Factory smoke and waste is polluting our environment and becoming the cause of multiple diseases. Today, most people are waiting for job vacancies, which has led to high rates of joblessness and unemployment. Poverty rate has increased and the people are deprived of basic necessities like water and food. Is there any solution to this issue? Asked Danish. His grandfather replied that we need to empower our society by educating it. Our government should take preventive measures to stop overpopulation. Gender equality should be promoted, and the family members should talk about the new generation by proper family planning. Women empowerment is the basic need to avoid catastrophe. Everyone must take responsibility towards the betterment of society and the human future. Our one single but a productive step could make a big change in the world. Education is my right. Mr. Akbar was shocked to see the condition of the school building: bricks, stone slabs, rotten bits of wood, broken glass, rusting metal, and heaps of smashed tiles were scattered around the ground. The ground stood barren as nobody had thought to develop it. It was more like a horror house than a school building. It was the only school building in this town, but people were not interested in sending their kids for education. The school building was inhabited with everything but humans. The villagers were living a very hard and tough life. Children, especially girls, were deprived of basic rights. Mr. Akbar was a newly appointed teacher in this town. He cleared the school ground and set the assembly area for students to come, but very few students attended. Mr. Akbar, did I not lose hope and went to encourage the village homes, the people to send their kids to school. Many of them refused by saying that they had no time for education as they struggled to earn their bread and butter from dawn to dusk. Next day, Mr. Akbar saw a little girl, Amina, sitting under the light bulb and reading an old book. He was surprised. She was, in fact, a ray of hope. He went closer to her to see her. On asking, she told him that she faced many challenges to have access to education. One of the hardest challenges she encountered was poverty. Her father was a scrap picker and unable to bear her school expenses. Every day, when her father returned home, Amina used to find old books from scrap to read. Her mother also supported her in studies and encouraged her to read. Unfortunately, there was no school for girls and she faced difficulties. Mr. Akbar appreciated her spirit of learning. She went to see her parents and promised to facilitate her. Amina's parents also assured Mr. Akbar help in arranging a meeting with other villagers. Soon a meeting was arranged. Amina and her parents encouraged the villagers to send their kids to school. Mr. Akbar promised them to teach their kids without any fee, and the kids would also get books and stationery from school. Despite his promise, the number of students hardly increased. The villagers did not send their daughters. Amina was the only girl in school. Sitting with so many boys was awkward for her, but her parents were willing to do it for the sake of her education. One fine morning, Amina heard her parents talking about their landlord who has been bitten by a snake and admitted to hospital. Amina went to see him with her parents. The condition of the hospital was no better than the school. Medical staff was not available, and the hospital was not even equipped with proper facilities. A ward boy was attending the landlord carelessly, who was crying in pain. Amina rushed to him and removed his shoes. Then she took a handkerchief and tied the leg of landlord near the wound. She also told the ward boy to bring soap and water to wash the wound. Lastly, she covered the bite with a clean, dry dressing. Meanwhile, the doctor arrived and attended the patient. He examined the landlord carefully and told him that a little delay would have been dangerous for him. He asked Mina how had she had known what to do. She told him that she wanted to be a doctor and that she used to read books about medical and first aid methods. She had recently read the treatment of snake bite and followed the instructions for the landlord. Everyone was happy because her intelligence saved the life of the landlord, and it happened because of her interest in reading. Mr. Akbar appreciated her efforts, and the landlord promised to help find the school in the village, especially for girls. Equal opportunities can bring success into the country, and development can only be achieved when everyone is treated equally. Importance of science and technology. Science and technology have facilitated us in many ways and made our life comfortable. Science and technology have become an extremely essential part in our life. Our day starts with the ticking of the alarm and ends with switching off the lights. The whole day we use different tools and machines which help us in many ways. Scientists have brought a great change in the world with their modern and advanced inventions. Today, our work is done by different machines which can wash and press our clothes, prepare our meals, and do the dishes, etc. We enjoy a luxurious lifestyle because of science and technology. Transportation has become easier and faster. Now we can quickly reach our destination within a few minutes or a few hours. Technology helps us to communicate with other people around the world. Various objects and devices like computers, mobile phones, laptops, and electric media have made this world a global village. We can work from home and earn benefits. Home businesses flourish, and a lot of people are now working independently to earn bread and butter. We can stay connected with our friends and family globally. Technology has also facilitated us in the field of education. Students are getting an education sitting at home. Students are facilitated with smart classes, multimedia devices, e-libraries, e-books, etc. Lessons are taught on mobile phone or computers, and teachers are recording the lessons for students' ease. During the pandemic of COVID-19, technology became a savior for many people. The whole world was transformed into the smart world, and everyone continued working from their homes, and it was only possible due to modern technology. Various contributions of science and technology have not only helped us in different ways but also saved time. Science gave us the knowledge about healthy and oil free food, and technology gifted us with microwaves and steam cookers to provide us calories free meal. Multiple medical devices like X ray scan machines, operation devices, pacemakers, and exercise equipment help doctors and patients to deal with diseases. The death ratio due to diseases has naturally decreased. Nowadays, online and medical facilities have also changed the world. Online health tips, medical assistance, and numerous health apps are the blessings of science and technology. Our planet has become overpopulated, and scientists are discovering new planets for human survival. They have marked their presence on Mars and are trying to reach other planets too. Science has also made us travel to space, and the world has touched the surface of the moon. We are hopeful that soon there would be a new world with human existence. Undoubtedly, science and technology are blessings for us. A poem by a soldier. Who knew that the day of 14th of August will tell the world in a way that both East and West would come to know that there stands a country named Pakistan, a lovely place with sacred lands and a home for a Muslim, a quiet shepherd's, a poet's dream, and the struggle of a flood, and the struggle of human flood, a new beginning beyond a stream, filled with the Muslim blood. Who knew that the day of 14th of August will tell the world in a way that both East and West would come to know that there stands a country named Pakistan, a lovely place with sacred lands and a home for a Muslim. Our quiet efforts, our poet's dream, and the struggle of a human flood, a new beginning beyond the stream, filled with the Muslim blood. Good citizen. Shiza and Tanya were very responsible and obedient girls. They always followed what their parents and teachers taught them. That day they had a lesson about good citizenship. Their teacher told them that a good citizen had to imbibe, including duty and responsibility. She told them that we must stay loyal and responsible to our society and nation. A good citizen must take care of his neighbors and fellow citizens. He must keep his neighbors clean, he must be vigilant in different situations. Shiza and Tanya decided to share in their society's betterment, and for this they decided to clean their neighborhood and plant some trees. In the evening, they went outside and started cleaning their street and garden. They planted new trees and removed the dead plants from pots and the ground. Many other children from the surrounding areas came to help them, and a united group of children worked together to fulfill their responsibility. Within 2 hours, a new look of their area emerged and captivated everyone. After completing their work, Shiza and Tanya went inside their home to take a shower. Entering the door, Shiza noticed a stranger in the street. She went in, but her sixth sense made her curious. She silently stood in her balcony and started observing the stranger. He was roaming around in the street and then stood in front of her neighbor's house. Shiza noticed that the stranger took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. He talked to someone and then stood outside as if waiting for someone. Suddenly, a motorbike entered the street with two more strangers. The street was quiet and there was no one from the area other than the three strangers. One of them entered the house by climbing up the wall. He opened the gate for his friends and let them enter the house. Shiza felt afraid of their activity, but she bravely stood there to keep an eye on their next actions. While doing so and observing, she also called the police helpline and told them that she had observed. She requested them to provide urgent help as her neighbors could be in danger. She telephoned to her neighbors to quietly lock their inner door to avoid any danger. She told them that the police had been informed and was on its way. Meanwhile, all three of the thugs and took out their guns and entered the inner door. The door was locked from inside and they started knocking. Nobody opened it, which made them furious. They were hitting at the door to open it when they heard the sound of the police siren. All of them became frightened and ran onto the main gate where the police arrested them red handed. They were handcuffed and put into the police van. The police officer went inside the house. Everyone was secured. It only happened because of Jesus' wisdom. The police officer later went to see Shiza. He really appreciated Shiza's bravery and a sense of responsibility. Shiza said that it was all because of her parents' and teachers' guidance. She said that being a good citizen, it was her responsibility to observe unusual, infrequent activities or people in her surroundings. If we all are responsible enough to detect such things, we can easily avoid crimes. Her neighbors were extremely happy and grateful for Shiza's act of kindness. They all gifted her parents as a token of their appreciation and encouragement. Shiza's parents were really proud of their daughter.